Celeste descended upon the place Vadon like a tempest, dressed to command every gaze. The late morning sun polished a sapphire Maserati Gran Turismo, its sleek lines reflecting Paris's opulent facades like a moving mirror. She stepped out in a crimson silk dress and stiletto heels that clicked sharply on the cobblestone forecourt of Laurent and Associés, the elite financial consultancy where ambitions were weighed as precisely as ledgers. Tossing the keys skyward, she caught them with a smug laugh, the kind that demanded witnesses. "This," she boasted to a trio of junior consultants feigning disinterest, "is what a man gives when he's truly captivated by a real woman." Smartphones tilted subtly. The reception buzzed through smoke glass. Celeste tilted her chin toward the revolving doors, like a queen deciding her courtly entrance. She wanted Elise, Julian's wife, to hear her heels before seeing her face, the rhythm of her steps carving a prophecy into the marble floors. The era of the bolder, brighter woman. She trailed perfume and murmurs. How Julian had taste, how his wife had lost her spark, how a man deserved passion. By the time the doors parted, gossip had circled the lobby twice. At the desk, she skipped formalities. "Tell Elise I've come with gratitude," she said, twirling the fob, the Maserati's emblem catching the light. "It's only polite she knows where her husband's devotion lies." The receptionist's face remained professional, though her lips pressed thin. She dialed upstairs, hung up, and said evenly, "Madam will see you now." Celeste smiled like an actress stepping onto a stage she rehearsed in her dreams. Elise was not disruption. She was continuity. In a tailored ivory suit, her sleek chignon revealed an intelligent brow, her posture a promise kept. Behind her, Paris sprawled in glass and stone. Her desk held files in orderly rows, like disciplined soldiers. She didn't rise as Celeste entered, merely glanced up with eyes that could read a client's intent before they spoke. "Fond of surprises?" Celeste asked, placing the keys on the walnut desk with a soft tap. "Julian thought I should show you how a man rewards vitality. A Maserati suits a woman who makes him feel alive. I told him I'd drive anything he entrusts." She leaned in, elbows on the desk, smile edged with pity. "You've held on long, Elise, but times change." Elise slid open a drawer without flourish. She withdrew a slim folder embossed with Laurent Holdings, flipped to a page, and turned it for Celeste to see. There lay the vehicle contract and title, stamped and sealed, naming Laurent Holdings, Elise Laurent, managing director. Silence stretched as a courtesy. Then Elise murmured, "Celeste, pride amplifies ignorance's echo. You paraded my asset." Celeste's face strained to hold form. Authority seeped into the room like cool mist. Elise reclaimed the keys. "Next time you flaunt, verify." News flowed like the Seine through cracks and under doors. It rode lifts with analysts, crossed lobbies on cleaners' polish. By noon, those who hadn't seen Celeste's crimson dress had opined on it. "Madam handled it," a clerk whispered, "with documents." Another added. A senior partner arched his brow over tortoiseshell glasses. "Elegance is velocity without haste." Celeste exited the glass office on legs less steady than when she entered, noticing the ceiling cameras, the guard's patient gaze, the receptionist's veiled empathy, a world not orbiting her. Outside, the Maserati loomed majestic, but now a borrowed throne. She touched the handle, feeling cold metal over triumph. Paris's din resumed, withholding applause for a secondary act. Upstairs, Elise sealed a folder and gazed at the skyline, not smirking in victory. She hadn't fought. She aligned facts and let truth stand. She pressed the intercom. "Claire, memo to fleet management. The Maserati transfers to the Laurent estate tonight. And tell finance to audit all firm-tied acquisitions for anomalies." She exhaled, measured, like a fencer between bouts. Julian returned at dusk, his suit scented with metro and ambition, his phone warm from calls that fed his ego. The gates parted. The Maserati crouched like a sea's boast. His keys felt heavier. He entered the salon as if stepping into a riddle. Elise sat with a ledger open, Evening light crafting a halo of motes. He tried charm, a reflex like a first aid kit. "You look radiant," he murmured. "Long day." Elise gestured to a chair, and he sat, sensing this wasn't a standing dialogue. She turned the ledger. Corporate card charges, a Saint Germain flat unneeded, jewelry never on her neck, a car whose papers stayed in her bureau. "Julian," she said, voice steady, "you've mistaken applause for affection, secrecy for liberty. They're neither." He offered excuses. Facades matter in finance. A man must reward loyalty. These were trifles against his ambition scale. Elise listened with a judge's civility, hearing a litigant who thought he could sway arithmetic. When he finished, she spoke like a clean cut. "Corrections await filing, boundaries need setting. I won't raise my voice. I'll raise the standard." She shut the ledger, closing a gate he'd spent months trying to reopen. Celeste's flat was built for Instagram, not living, glass, chrome, a balcony for dusk selfies. She paced it like a caged panther, phone in hand, fury sharpening her features. When Julian answered, she skipped pleasantries. "You humiliated me," she hissed. "You gave me a car that wasn't yours. You used me to taunt your wife and made me the fool." Julian's reply was clipped, weary from his domestic clash. "Calm down, Celeste. I'm handling it." He promised upgrades, transfers, assets in her name. "Give me time," he said, as if time were a coin to spend twice. She hung up gentler than she felt, eyeing her ornate cage, wondering when she'd traded power for posture. At midnight, the building's hum mocked her, slumped on the parquet. She recalled Elise's gaze, unmoved, almost tender, like a mentor watching a novice grasp embers. Shame neighbored anger, teetering between repentance and revenge. Her jaw set. "If they want war," she whispered, "let be chic." Armed with pillow talk secrets, Julian's investments, veiled bribes, confidential projects. She contacted his rival, posing as a scorned lover trading knowledge for favor. Vengeance dressed as survival. The rival welcomed her with a cunning smile, relishing broken loyalties. Celeste, in discreet black, slipped into his car one evening, handing over photographed documents. Betrayal's thrill gave fleeting power. She felt not Julian's toy, but a woman with leverage. The rival promised protection, funds, partnership in ventures Julian would regret losing. It was the first applause she'd heard since the scandal. Unbeknownst to her, among sharks, a bleeding fish is devoured, not befriended. The rival took her data, already plotting her discard. Celeste thought she wove a trap for Julian, but she'd spun a web for herself. Elise wielded silence like a rapier. She didn't shout, curse, or slam doors. She restructured her world in hushed increments Julian barely noticed. At the firm, she ordered audits of joint ventures, tracing his extravagance to its source. She signed papers with steady hands, redirecting profits, cutting pipelines he'd used to fund his ego. At home, she maintained routine elegance, morning yoga, pressed blouses, measured dinner talk. Julian mistook her quiet for surrender, but it was her scaffold, building what only patience could complete. The Maserati, now in the family grounds, symbolized her quiet reclamation, a reminder that Julian's excesses tethered to her authority. Staff, once swayed by his charm, tilted back to Elise with renewed respect. They'd seen her endure his absences, whispered scandals, yet never lose composure. Her restraint prompted private prayers. They knew the woman who waits often holds the last laugh. Julian danced in the illusion. He controlled both worlds, Elise's and Celeste's. He missed how her silence carved a wall higher than stone. He came home to cooked meals, lit lamps, tucked sheets. But beneath the calm, Elise was rearranging her place in their marriage. Not to leave, but to own what he thought hidden. Paris's gossip flew faster than sparrows. Celeste's Maserati stunt reached cafes, salons, churches. At a rival soiree, Celeste arrived in an emerald gown, jewelry glinting defiantly. But stares weren't admiring. Ladies muttered, gentlemen chuckled into cognac. "That's her, the one with Madame Lauren's car. Her loud laughs and tales of Julian's promises rang hollow. Every nod felt like a dagger. Every sip a reminder she was a jester in another story. Elise heard of it through confidence, nodding faintly, wasting no words. In a world of pride and facades, dignified stillness was her weapon, letting others talk until their voices tired. Julian's reputation depreciated faster than failing stocks. Partners hesitated, sensing his reckless spending and shady deals. Whispers grew. If he couldn't manage his home, how could he steward millions? Contracts slipped to rivals. Elise didn't push him down. He sabotaged himself. She tightened her grip, positioning herself as the firm's reliable voice. Clients leaned on her discretion, and Julian's words lost weight. He returned home late, not from triumph, but damage control, his laughter brittle, his funds too thin for Celeste's demands. Celeste, not built for obscurity, felt abandonment's chill as Julian's calls dwindled. In desperation, she stormed his office, but found irritation, not affection. "I'm drowning in losses, and you're whining about gifts?" he snapped. Her pride cracked. She saw herself not as indispensable, but a discarded distraction. Shame outweighed fury as she returned to her flat, where silence mocked louder than laughter. Her rival ally, having extracted Julian's secrets, cut contact. Unable to pay rent, Celeste faced eviction, neighbors whispering as she hauled boxes. That's her, the Maserati fool. Her social media faded to mockery. Beauty without wisdom was a devalued currency. Elise, with surgeon's precision, secured every asset. St. Germain flat, transport equities, vineyard, all under her control. Julian realized too late the papers were signed, his throne stripped. To the world, nothing seemed dramatic. He drove his cars, wore his suits. But Elise's quiet strategy ensured he couldn't fund his betrayal with her foundation. One evening, by the Maserati, she whispered a prayer for clarity, not vengeance. Julian's fall didn't bring joy. It confirmed the truth. Those who trade honor for applause clap alone. At a business gala, Elise shone in a champagne gown, admired for her resilience. Celeste, in borrowed finery, shrank into shadows. Julian, at a rear table, watched her bask in respect. Each cheer for her slapped his pride. Later, in their garden, he knelt, pleading forgiveness. "Elise, I was blind. Let us start again." She looked down, calm. "Forgiveness is yours to seek from above. I've chosen peace. Trust, once broken, never regains its shape." Her words struck like lightning. Julian wept, having lost her intimacy, his greatest boon. Elise's influence grew. Global conferences, journals lauding her integrity. Julian lingered in her shadow, a husband in title, not power. Celeste vanished, moving from let to let, pitted by the city that once admired her. At another gala, Elise spoke. Wealth shifts, allure fades, but wisdom and honor outlast conceit. The hall roared. Julian and Celeste, hearts pierced, knew the truth. Elise's story wasn't betrayal. It was triumph through unassailable dignity.